Simon, welcome to the Hospitality Heroes podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Zev. I'm so happy to be here, man.
Awesome. We're happy to have you. So, you call yourself the Culinary Mechanic. Please break down what that is for my listeners and viewers.
Uh, well, there's a couple layers to it, but the first is, call it 15 years ago, I was having one of those moments at work where I wasn't feeling fulfilled as a chef, and for better or worse, I came home kind of ranting one day, going, I'm just a damn mechanic. I take it apart, I put it back together, maybe I grease a part here and there, and it's not very creative, and it's not chefy, and you know, kind of had that in my mind and this culinary mechanic. And fast forward 15 years later, I needed to come up with a name for sort of the consulting advising work that I'd begun to do. And I realized that it was just perfect. Well, what started off as a joke and a rant kind of became sort of the rallying call. So now culinary mechanic is I
Sorry, just
have
as
it.
a short trajectory, it's kind of funny. I just learned that that's how the phrase "the Big Bang" that was
Yeah.
also meant as like a joke, as a put down, and then it stuck. So sometimes you never know, like things like that can stick. It's a cool name. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. So then, Culinary Mechanic acts as two things. One, it's its own podcast where we bring in folks to talk about, and not too dissimilar from this, right? But I start with chefs, and I end up talking to tech leaders, and I end up I'm even talk to people who help with corporate dining and all those things. So just people who are helping to bring the business forward is my focus, right? Always with the lens of restaurants and food service is at its core a machine. And how do you grease those parts to keep things moving better and get that well-oiled machine feel that we all love in any business, right? Where everything is just clicking. From the advisory standpoint, I really focus on leadership systems and culture with chefs specifically, though I have been known to take on a front of house manager and work them through some steps. But a lot of what we do is really talk about how we're communicating, how we're managing our time. Um, is there a significant amount of delegation going in place so that systems can be in place so that the chef doesn't need to be the one who is actuating every lever and is the one. Well, basically, I want to be able to pull the chef out so that they can work on the business, not just in the business.
Got it. Okay, so let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
Walk us through your background as a chef, how and then kind of like what led to your role now as a culinary consultant.
All right. So, 1989, the first George Bush was in office still, and I was a 16-year-old kid, right? So I needed a job, and I got in mostly just to have a job, and I didn't really think much of it. But after a year and a half of being there through high school, I really started to enjoy it. I enjoyed the community of it, so much so that when I was in college, about midway through my first semester, I was like, "This is not for me. I do not belong here." But I do belong in the kitchen, so I quit that and I went on to cooking two jobs, morning and noon and night, and the whole thing. Sometimes even three. Worked as a line cook for 10 years, became a sous chef probably right about the turn of the century. And then just started to build my resume, like sous chef job, chef job. And it was somewhere in between my biggest sous chef job and my first executive chef job that I really started to go, this isn't about, this isn't just about food. It isn't just about um, this stuff over here. It is really about the people and how they react to me, how I'm able to enact some force. And I don't mean forcefully, but I mean, how do I leverage what I have in a group of people to get the work done, to uphold the standards that we believe in that place. And so, you know, fast forward 5, 10 years, I get a job, and now all of a sudden I am overseeing 4 units, and it's teach, and develop people so they can develop people, right? We got 7 units in the company, and it's constant, right? Like we're farming sous chefs because the owners want to grow. They want to open up. They wanted when I got there was four, and then we opened up five, six, seven, and then
Wow.
there was plans for more. So it's about making sure that everybody is up to speed and developed and looking behind you developing your people, right?
Mhm.
Deciding that that prep cook over there has got a great mind and pays attention to the details. Can they be a lead prep cook? Can they then become a sous chef? Can they then become a chef? All of those things. Now, bring that to culinary mechanic, and that's exactly what I work to do is to help people to see the layers of it, right? Help people to see how they can influence. Because for me, that is a definition of leadership, which is it's just simply expanding influence, right? If you take leadership, that's where I want it to be, is we're gonna teach you how to teach and teach other people how to teach in the same manner so that we get culture, right? So it keeps moving. So leadership systems culture. The systems end up being very, very simple, right? Like it's about having a good prep list, having a good order guide, having a way to onboard people, right? The very basic things make everything run so much smoother. Um,
So you,
so
so
there, that's that's in essence what I do.
awesome. Thank you for taking us through that. And I think it gives a clear picture of what you do. So you help chefs and chef teams really with all, there's like you said, your systems and processes. Um, One question I would have, and I think we might have spoken before about this, but for the viewers, listeners, um, I'm just curious, like, how did you, being in the chef game for about, almost, whatever, 25 years or whatever it was,
Yeah.
how did you jump from that into, now kind of doing your own full-time chef consulting and, leadership coaching business?
I blame it all on COVID. Actually, 2021 was a rough year. It was coming out of COVID. It was having to kind of rebuild the company a bit. A lot of people left just in the middle. We stayed kind of open. Like a number of our restaurants were still open, dinner only, and so we were able to maintain probably 55 to 60% of our employees, but that still leaves 35 to 40 that didn't stay. And so it was just rough, man. Like it just really tapped my soul. A few things happened in that company where it wasn't fun anymore. A guy who I'd been working with and working for a decade and a half in two separate companies. He's my boss there, but he's also my boss in a previous company. He left to go do something else, and it just felt like the moment, right? I was about to turn 50. I'd been in the big game for 33 years. Um, and I just looked and I didn't hurt or help that my wife is in the background going, I got a job where I work from home now. Can you work from home? Is there something that you can do? Is there a way that you can take your love and passion for all these things that are culinary and hospitality and do them from home where you're not so stressed? And I really didn't know, but I was definitely willing to try. And um, I mentioned college a few minutes back, and I was a math major in college. So
Hmm.
my brain really operates in different modes than a lot of chefs.
Hmm.
And so I knew that having had worked in that space, like in school, I was an ace in math and physics and all that kind of stuff. So I knew that my brain I knew I had the potential to be able to think in different spaces. And so I promised myself on April 24th of 2022, when I basically left my job, I said, from this day forward, I'm going to I'm going to stimulate my brain in different fashions than I have for 30 something years. And that was the promise to myself. And I didn't know where it was going, honestly. I didn't say I'm going to be a consultant. I took 4, maybe 5 months, and we went on 2 different vacations, and we had a great time. I sat and stared at the leaves on the top of the neighboring trees and thought about life and thought about what was really important. And when I came up for air, I realized I wanted to begin this next chapter of my life where I was able to help people not make some of the mistakes that I made, use some of the technology that's out there I mean, I am a big proponent of like, use the stuff on your phone. You got a calendar on there, you got alarms on there, you got all this technology right in the palm of your hand, and it can make a chef's life easier. And so that's what I try to do, man. It's just try to help people live the life they want to live. If they want to grind as being a chef, here's the way to make it easier. If they don't want to grind so hard and they still want to maintain great results, here's how you're going to do it. You're going to communicate better, you're going to lead better, and you're going to use systems to do it.
Love it. And yeah, I see how you're kind of maybe not engineering, but that type of mindset helped you as a chef for over 30 years and now in helping you, guide other chefs in your, work with helping chefs become more efficient and process oriented. I'm sure there's a lot of obviously I mean I've worked in a restaurant. Some places are more dysfunctional than others. And some are more plugged in or using tech or AI more than others. Um, I want to break down, you said systems, um, leadership, and what was the third
Mhm.
one?
Culture.
Culture. Okay. So let's kind of go through first one, systems. So I think you mentioned that was like having, a good like checklist, having the right technology. That's, I won't say easy, but it's like maybe the easy part. The others seem like they're probably a little more involved. Let's go with systems first. What's kind of your approach to that?
So I think the fundamental for me is there needs to be one way you do it, right? And I kind of don't care what that way is, right? But it's got to be something that is teachable, something that is easily surveyed, right? I need the person above you needs to be able to check on it, and needs to be able to plug into it. So it should be any system that we put in place, like I said, an order guide's a great example, right? You got to know all the information has got to be at the top, and it's got to be very clear. This is who we order from. And if there's a specific person that you need to call or email or it gets done online, then that information is there. When does it have to be in? So all the who, what, wheres have got to be very specific. And then, I advocate for things to really mimic the way your restaurant is laid out. So if you're doing an order guide for produce, you go into the walk-in, and if lettuce is on the left and moving into tomatoes, moving into dairy products, moving into other things, it should be what we say is shelf to sheet, right? If you look at the top shelf, you go from left to right, that's how it should go down the page. A very specific system so that it's really easy. So that if I'm the chef and you're my dining room manager and I go, hey man, I just got the living shit out of my hand. Can you help me? You can walk in and I can say, just start at the top, read it, look up, you'll see it, write down how many you have, and then we can figure out the order from there, right? So it's got to be something that is relatable, is teachable. Yeah, plug and play is a great way to say it, right? Like I need to be able to plug somebody into that system. It needs to be simple enough that just about anybody can do it so that we can keep moving forward. All right, so that's systems. Moving forward and up from there, right? Like again, it's like onboarding. How do people enter your building? Do they get a tour? Do you fill out all the paperwork? How do they know what's expected of them, right? And for me, um, that is really, really important. Just all those pieces having a specific way that it gets done.
Awesome. Okay. And how much would that be? Um, I guess how much these days would that be leveraging like apps, AI, any other kind of, are
Oh
there any kind
man.
of cool tools right now that maybe people should know?
Oh gosh. I mean, when it comes to like so inventory, ordering, there's things like Whisk AI, another one, and they're amazing because they help you with your inventory and they help you make it go fast. Customer service is pretty stellar from them, as far as setting things up. Um, And I think the other thing to realize is a lot of this software helps you do tasks, but also gives you back information. And I
Hmm.
think that's where you start to win.
Data.
Um, Data, absolutely. And there's so many different ways. Like if you start to understand that your chicken fettuccine Alfredo costs you less to prepare, right? Costs you less to put on the plate, but everybody loves it. And it's $16. You might be able to get 17.50 for that because so many people love it. So then you put it in and you can only get that from the data, right? Like you can understand that it's a low cost, high margin item and the sales velocity is massive on it. And so you start to see those and there's all these different ways to position that data, right?
So,
But that
so
goes
they
into
can make
menu engineering.
right. So it's well, menu engineering, which is a whole science in itself, and that way,
Absolutely.
chefs can make more. You enable the chefs to make more data-driven decisions. That also can even help with other things like sales and marketing in terms of knowing what,
Absolutely.
dishes, what things should we promote. I actually would love to ask you more. I want to come back to this, really about,
Okay.
the bigger picture of the restaurant, but like the next thing that you do, let leadership and culture. Take me through your process with that. Do you have a methodology, maybe with like a name? Some people have like some kind of the something method, or what's your philosophy for that?
So I'm gonna it's funny. I always say leadership, systems, and culture in that order. But what I've come to understand over the last, I don't know, decade, 2 decades, is it kind of looks like I'm like a quick little equation, and it's this: culture in some largely is culture equals systems, okay, and leadership, right? And I want you to think about it from this standpoint. Culture is process and personality repeated daily, right? So here we are, processes, systems, right? Now leadership. How are we conveying the message? How are we communicating things? How are we setting those expectations and then following up? Because for me, leadership and management gets pretty boiled down to set an expectation, follow up and follow up and follow up, right? I tell people, I'm like, there's four pieces to it, but there's like, it's really like, it's got to be down to, pardon the expression, nuts and bolts, right? So leadership, that's the fundamental for me. Is just how do we communicate? How do we say like my goal is to grow the business. That's very fiscally minded, right? It's very financial, but at the end of the day, like there's a mission there, there's a vision at the top, and I need everybody to be in and part of it, right? And then culture goes right along with that for me. In that again, it's the things that we do every day and how we do it, right? The very structured systems and processes that we employ, right, to achieve the goals that we want. Now, your other question was, do I have a named methodology? I'll be 100% honest. I mean, I've been working on this for weeks,
We'll
right?
workshop that. That's the marketing guy.
But
That's where
I
I
will
come
tell
in.
you that I'm really like I'm pretty sold on the idea that that going forward, you're gonna look at the Culinary Mechanic website and you're gonna see Chef OS, right? The operating system for chefs by Culinary Mechanic.
Oh, I love
Um,
that. And then that ties in with your like, tech and engineering, math background. I also was going to say when you all the things you're talking about and almost like a mathematical equation with the leadership and the systems and process, uh, culture, all this stuff. It's almost like they're all the ingredients that make an optimized chef workflow. Like they're the ingredients of the dish. And it seems like you have a really methodical, process-oriented way. And I know, generally speaking, they're all different kinds of people, different kinds of chefs. Some are more, diva, or you've been in the chef world. Sometimes there's people a little eccentricities, let's just say. I've watched, bar rescue. I've worked in restaurants. There's some people, I think that some are more creative, but someone like you who can come in and help them channel that in a way that is going to be smooth, for them and for the people under them, for the customers, that will be scalable, replicable, and profitable, is hugely important. So that takes me to my next question. It sounds like a really hands-on. You yourself have so much experience as a chef, and you're helping chef and chef teams be more efficient. And I would say that's a huge value not only to the chefs and the chef team, but the restaurant as a whole, or the hotel hospitality group as a whole, because that will help them be more efficient, profitable, have better customer experience, etc. So I guess my question for you is, it sounds like you deal a lot with back of house, but I think what you do can really benefit the entire organization. So is there any thought about maybe expanding to more front of house services as well?
So that's an interesting question.
And sorry, sub question on that. Who's your target market? Is it like chefs? Or is it owners of the establishments? Or yeah, that's like my add-on question.
You asked two of the most challenging questions that I have faced in forming this business over the last couple of years. And I love these questions and I hate them all at the same time. So here we go. Number one, I work with the chefs because that is what makes the most sense for me. That's where my passion lies. But the reality is, as I've done this work, more than half the time I get a phone call or I get a tap on the shoulder that says, "Hey, you've done some great things with my chef. Would you mind sitting down with me?" And it's from the owner, right? And I love the leadership pieces that you've put in place. I want to make sure that I am continuing to create that environment for my leaders. Will you work with me as well? And so usually it becomes a sub piece, right? Like we'll just say that oftentimes I'll work with a chef. I'll meet with a chef twice a month, sometimes weekly, right? And then we might throw in a half an hour to 45 minutes uh, as part of the thing where I might meet with the owner one time a month and just talk about how their umbrella and their leadership is really like overseeing everything else, right? And that helps me tie the business together, right? Is what I've found. Right. So if the chef is starting to fire on all cylinders where he or she was missing a little bit in the past, or maybe they were doing well, but now it's like it's time to like make some more money from this business that we're doing. So being able to talk to the owners as well really works. Are there plans for me to go full scale? What I've learned about business is that the more specific I am, the more easily I can market to my ideal client. So
Definitely.
I definitely help people in their restaurants. Sometimes, like I had a conversation yesterday about helping the owners and how they would go about like increasing per person average on checks, as well as motivating servers to up their daily sales, right? So I focus on the back, I market to the back, but I've been around long enough that I can have a thought where I can help everything. But I think until I see a really, really, really compelling reason to branch out, I'm gonna stay right in my lane.
Amazing. So like, just a little anecdote. I did not chef professionally, although I love to cook at home. I did work in a restaurant for a little while and a few different establishments too, caterers, as like kitchen expo, sometimes runner. And I remember one of the chefs, like senior chefs, telling me when I was getting kind of overwhelmed, there was a lot coming in. The orders were, those it was coming out of the machine rapid fire. He said, the key is focusing one thing at a time. Be fully present in that one thing you're doing That was really great advice. And I think that seems like what you're doing. And, from a marketing perspective, if I may, I think your chefs are your tribe, and that's what you know best. And it has a huge impact, probably the biggest impact on the rest of the organization. And I think I know that when you market, the more you can empathize with the end user or the customer's specific problem and nail that and get into their shoes, the more effective you're going to be. So, like, I think you have the right idea about focusing on chef related issues, but if you make a difference there, that could be like a way in. You help that solve that immediate urgent need and give them a return, a ROI, whatever that looks like. um, they're going to want to ask you for help in other areas or refer you to others. So that's really excellent. I know we're coming up on time. I just would love to please share with my listeners where they can find you. We'll link it all in the show notes. Where they can connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on and
My pleasure.
providing this space for people to talk about what they do and how they do it. I really appreciate the platform. So, the best way to find me is a direct email, simon@culinarymechanic.com. Check out the website, check out the podcast, and that's all culinarymechanic.com. I'm on Instagram as culinary.mechanic. I'm on Oh gosh, I'm there on YouTube and you can find it on TikTok. It's all Culinary Mechanic. And I am Simon Zatyrka, Z as in zebra, A, T as in Tom, YRKA. But you
I'll
don't
put
need
your
to worry
LinkedIn
about
too.
that. Totally. You don't need to worry about that. Find me at culinarymechanic.com. It's the
Awesome.
easiest. You don't have to
Awesome.
spell so hard.
Simon, I like to ask all my guests, what's your favorite thing to cook or eat?
You're gonna laugh at me, but anything anything ground meat. So I'm a meatball fanatic. I love meatballs. I love meatloaf. Spaghetti and meatballs. If you gave that to me 6 times a week, I'd probably be okay. But
That's your
that's
favorite thing
definitely
to
one of my
cook as
favorite
well?
things to eat. What's
Oh,
that?
to eat. Okay, to eat. Okay, awesome. What
To,
about
to
as a chef?
eat
What's your favorite thing to cook?
big pieces of meat. Like I love open fire. Like let's cook a half a hog. Let's spatchcock a turkey. Whatever you want, man. But like big protein over open fire.
That sounds amazing and juicy. Now I'm hungry. Thank you so much, Simon, and thanks for sharing with the listeners. And definitely looking forward to speaking more.
Awesome, Zev. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You too. Bye.